feels weird being back, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
This feels really strange. Oh, shall I turn the camera so we can see ourselves?
Yeah.
We're out of practice.
Yeah.
God, this feels so strange to be back.
This is really weird.
Yeah, recording a vlog. Unexpectedly took a 2-month break.
Yeah, I don't
filming.
think we've vlogged since the end of LA. I don't think we've picked up the camera.
Yeah,
We weren't very good at vlogging that either.
That's nearly 2 months ago. I don't have a watch on. Hold that thought.
You're like Johnny Bravo. Is that his name? Jimmy Bravo?
Johnny Bravo. The Cartoon Network.
You wear the black top and jeans.
Yeah. Take 2. Watch on. Yeah, we haven't vlogged for ages.
I've put my watch on. I thought you were like, watch on.
We haven't vlogged for ages. It was completely unplanned. We weren't planning on taking a break, but I think just needed a bit of a reset this year. If you've been here for the whole year, you'll know has been quite manic and very up and down, lots of highs, lots of lows. And we just needed a reset, but we are back to vlogging. We needed to just reset, focus on some other projects and stuff that's going on. And you might have seen recently, if you follow on Instagram, I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, which we've kind of been dealing with in the background, and we're going to talk about that in this video. But yeah, we've had a lot of questions. We put up a question box on Instagram, and we've gone through, filtered through. We've tried to answer a mix of different things, so hopefully we cover.
Yeah. There's quite a lot of groups of questions. There seem to be a lot of questions about the same things. Mm-hmm. So
we've also weirdly selected some questions where people ask multiple because they seem to word them well, even though I think we had thousands of questions.
Yeah, but a lot of them were just about
similar things,
about whatever. So we've just grouped a lot of them.
Yeah. We also have 3 vlogs edited and ready to go that we filmed a couple of months ago. So it might seem random, but maybe let us know in the comments now. But if you want to see those videos, we will just put them out straight away and then carry on vlogging as of now, because those were filmed late summer, but earlier in the year. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
I feel like I'm rambling because I just don't know what to say.
I know. I think because the camera's here now.
Yeah.
I'm I want to say all the stuff that I haven't said in ages. But I'm also
it's word vomit.
Quite a nice way to do it.
Yeah,
a Q&A chatty vlog.
Get back into it. Okay, where should we start? Should we just go through
Just go through in order.
Okay, we're going through in order. So these are completely random. Some are big questions. Some are really quick fire. Okay, so the first one, we're not going to say people's names just because some people wanted to be anonymous. Okay, this one is, what is Mikey's favourite movie? Easy one.
This is easy, but I always have 2 answers for this. So if I was going to say my favourite movie and I wanted people to think I was picking a good movie, I'd go for Moulin Rouge.
I love how that is still a musical. It's not
It's a good film.
It is a good film, but it's...
Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah, but it's not
No, it's not
groundbreaking.
I do love it. I love that film.
Yeah, it's great.
I also love the musical. And then if I was going to say my rubbishy favourite, my actual favourite film is probably Freaky Friday. And they're making Freaky Friday 2, and I'm so excited.
It comes out on Mikey's birthday as well.
You may as well say yours as well.
I don't know. What would you say? I have so many, and I'm so indecisive. And
I would say yours used to be The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. Guys, I'm the type of person, you may have learned this about me, but I will get obsessed with something, and that will be my whole personality for a while. I'll be no, The Holiday is my favorite film, and I'm obsessed with that, and that's it. Or we went to see Wild Robot, the new film, a couple of weeks ago, which was so good. And I came out this is my all-time favourite film of my whole life. And I love it. And I listen to the music. And I want to buy a pet robot.
Your emotion.
Yeah.
You're I love it.
Yeah. So almost everything has been my favourite film at some point or another.
Some have lasted longer, though.
Yeah. I would say a consistent something that makes me feel good is Notting Hill.
Yeah, I would have said Notting Hill. Or About Time.
About Time, Love Actually, those kinds of films. They always make me feel good and nostalgic. The Grinch could be one of my favourite films.
Should we just actually turn this into a vlog of films we like?
That was supposed to be a quick fire question. We haven't caught up with you guys in so long, though. I've just got a lot to say. It's catching up with old friends. Yeah. Okay, next one.
Okay, who's the first? These are funny questions. Who's the first one onto the dance floor? I feel like we're doing Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Okay, should we say on the count of 3?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Toby. What would you like to see 2025 hold for you both? That's a good question.
That's a good question. I feel like I would like 2025 to hold. We've had a really good year, but there's been quite a lot of lows. So it'd be really nice to kind of carry on the highs of this year into next year, which I really hope they will.
Yeah.
But I do feel like our life will always kind of be like this.
I think taking ownership, and we'll talk about this in a bit, but like I have been quite like unstable in the past. And so it's sometimes like sustaining consistency has been challenging, but that's something like we're trying to find better.
Yeah, I think that's
structure
kind of what I would want, like a bit more like consistency.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And then if I'm looking for something material, I hope that we will buy a house in London.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll like obviously talk about all of that more in the future. And then
Mic drop.
Literally. And then for me, similar, but I guess like continued self-growth, not to sound really American. Not that there's anything wrong with being American, but
you would thrive in America.
I would. But I would like for us, I've been doing a lot of therapy and a lot of like understanding how my brain works and maybe the reasons I like how I am, and I want to continue that and it being a positive thing rather than letting it like consume or change me. So just some self-growth.
Okay, the next one is, what do you like most about the area you're in now, living in now?
So to recap for anyone new or anyone who doesn't know, basically we were like between Bath and Bristol in the UK, which is quite like a rural area. We have 2 cities nearby, but we lived in a village. And now we moved to London and we live in like Chelsea, southwest London kind of area.
Yeah, it's like Chelsea, Fulham. I would say I feel like we were talking about this yesterday. I feel like I get at home in an area really quickly if I like it.
Yeah.
I just feel like really settled here. It's got a really like quiet feeling where we live.
Yeah, it's really surprising whenever anyone comes to visit us, they always say how quiet it is. Like,
Point proven.
It's not like hustle and bustle London,
Even
but
if
we
you open
have
the
that
window.
literally like 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes walk away, like 5-minute walk. We can be in the heart of everything.
Yeah.
Lots going on. But here it's like calm.
Answered that one for me.
Sorry, ADHD. Interrupting people.
What he said basically is what I would have said.
What's your current routine? Workout, work, etc.? That's quite a hard one to answer. I guess that's probably more for me because I dictate a lot of our routines.
That's probably more for me because if I start answering it, I won't end up answering it.
Sorry. I think our routine in general has been like very all over the place this year. I, as a person, like constantly try and find routines, but I'm really bad at being consistent with them. Like I love the idea of being like, wake up, stretch, shower, coffee. Like I have this like vision of having a life like that, but in reality I am complete chaos. Like it's not the life you see on Instagram all the time. Like it is a bit chaotic. So I feel like living with me, we can't have much routine, but we have tried to put things in place that make our life easier. Like for pretty much all of this year, we have consistently worked out like 4 or 5 times a week for most of the year, definitely the last few months.
Yeah.
We've been trying to have dinner at a certain time, we've been more consistent.
Yeah, we have been good at doing things that we can do in a routine.
But with someone who, as we've recently learned, like has ADHD or... Sorry, the dogs. We'll just catch you up on the dogs in a bit. With like ADHD or any kind of like mental health struggle or difference, it is quite hard to maintain a routine because daily, like my motivation really changes. One day I want to get up at 5 a.m. and literally do everything. Yeah. And then by like 2 p.m. I've crashed and I've burnt out and I'm like can't stay awake and stuff like that has been happening. Yeah. So it's hard, but we're trying to get better and be more consistent with things like exercise that are very much in our control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
How old were you when you came out and or you figured out your sexual orientation? You want to answer that one first?
In terms of figuring out sexual orientation, I feel like I always knew I was attracted to men.
Like, you came out of your mum and you were like, not for me.
No, but I think...
You're like, ew.
Honestly, since I was like, even before I probably was sexually attracted to men, I feel like I was drawn to men.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think that does make sense. I think that's probably a shared experience for a lot of gay men as children, because I think it's kind of like, this is very stereotyping and I don't want to do this, but for us speaking and people we know, how come before you have any understanding of like sex and the sexual experience, how can you like... So, like, I was always friends with women.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do more, like, feminine activities, which is obviously very associated to not all, but a lot of gay men and culture.
Yeah.
So how do you, as a 3-year-old or 2-year-old, choose to play with both of us?
Yeah.
Barbies or Polly Pockets?
Yeah, like, I never wanted to play, like, male toys.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that is gay. That's not... I know, like, straight children who have grown into straight men who played with those things, and...
Yeah.
But I think
we are very stereotypically, like, gay.
We had, like, a gay experience.
Yeah.
Like, I was the child who was, like, at night getting up and going and dressing in my sister's, like, Snow White dresses and being...
Oh, my God, same.
And, like, stuff like that. Like, I didn't identify as a woman, but I had, like, more feminine interests.
Yeah. So I'd say that I always felt different from in that respect.
I guess, when were you first, like... Oh,
I think as soon as
What was your, like, gay awakening?
I don't know what my gay awake... Oh, did we have this
I know
the other day?
Mine was... does anyone remember H2O, Just Sabotage?
No, I didn't watch that.
Yeah. Oh, doorbell. Sorry about that. We just had our fancy dress costumes, I think, delivered for our Halloween party. We'll show you that in a vlog soon. But yeah, H2O Just Water was a TV program about mermaids.
Yeah.
And there was this guy on it. I think he was in like Home and Away and stuff as well. And I must have been in like year 8 or 9. And I was quite like a late bloomer in terms of like, I was quite naive, I think. Yeah. I think like I've spoken about that quite a lot. Yeah. But yeah, I remember that being really like, oh, wow, he's good looking.
Yeah. I feel like I just always knew I was attracted to men as soon as I was attracted to anyone. But I had girlfriends at school quite consistently. And then when it got to kind of like teenage age, I would like kiss girls at a party or whatever. But I knew I wasn't attracted to girls. I think I was really pushing it away.
Yeah.
And then I came out when I was 17. So, yeah.
I came out when I was 16 as well.
Young.
Is this your main source of income, or do you have another job? And how about Mikey? Social media is my main source of income. I do other things as well, like interior design. I write for different kind of things. I do work that you wouldn't see online. And I feel like that will always be the case for me. Like I quite like variation and doing different things, but
most of it also comes from what you've built online.
Yeah, from either whether it's interior design, helping someone doing consultancy for projects or new builds, or I do stuff like that behind the scenes, which I just like to keep separate because it's not something that like I think I share enough of like our life online that it's nice to have some things going on in the background that I can just like knuckle down and get on with. And then
I'm a mortgage advisor. I've kind of cut down on that to like part-time.
Yeah.
And then the other half I work with Toby, or we work together now.
Together. Yeah, we'll talk about some changes there later. I had honestly hundreds of questions about ADHD. So thought we would just spend like a couple of minutes talking about that. If you're not interested, feel free to just like skip on a couple of minutes. But loads of questions being like, can you talk about the symptoms you had and how long for, the process, whether you went private, medication, everything like that. So yeah, let's go into it. So I think for literally like 15 years, people have said to me, have you thought that you might have ADHD? Whether it's in a jokey way or like just lots of different people have suggested it. Growing up, I always had a lot of energy. I was I deaf as a...
Yeah, I think you were deaf as a baby.
I was deaf, so very quiet. And then when I got to like talking, because I was late starter with talking because I couldn't hear, so I didn't pick up on things. I basically, like, my parents always told me that, like, oh, you used to overcompensate a lot by being like energetic and chatty, and like they used to call me like Tigger or Zebedee or like things like that. And then in school, I always used to get in trouble for chatting too much, for doing like things like, I remember getting like not allowed to do dance because I used to pinch people's bums, like me and my friend, because we were like disruptive. And I was always kind of like that, like a lot of energy, very like bouncy, asking loads of questions. And then I guess kind of the same growing up, like...
Yeah, I think you kind of learn how to not be like that in certain situations when you knew... I mean, obviously I didn't know you when you were young, but I think you can tell when you're like allowing yourself to be like that and when you're not allowing yourself to be like that. And I think you learned that quite young.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I think by the time I met you, people didn't think so much probably that you had ADHD, because it was just like, oh, you're just energetic sometimes when you get a bit hyper.
Yeah, it was more like hyper.
Yeah.
And basically I didn't realize, I always thought ADHD was, because I know people who have had ADHD, I always thought it was more like really disruptive or aggressive. And basically last year I spoke to my then therapist when we lived back at the cottage about it. They suggested that I should look into it based on a lot of our conversations and the way like I react to things and respond. What?
We always talk about, like, part of the ADHD, I always talk about you always do something.
Oh yeah.
And you're like,
fidgety.
feels so nice.
Yeah. Sorry. Try and stay still.
No, don't.
I actually noticed that I did a video talking about it online, and the whole thing
you're like fiddling with your rings and
then
stuff.
it's like our wedding video as well. It really annoys me, and everyone was saying after, like, why couldn't you keep your feet still?
Yeah,
and I'm like kicking my feet, but
anyway.
Yeah. So so my therapist mentioned like looking into it and stuff, and told me and showed me how things like I'm really impulsive. I have a lot of like, whether it's mood swings or like, oh, I need to do that, like really focus on like, I want a gallery wall, I need to do it today. Kind of thing. Kind of like the films, getting really obsessed with the film and making it my whole personality, and things as well, like I've spoken about, but issues with food and like eating disorders, that's all really common for how ADHD manifests in women and gay men as well, because you're more likely to, my psychiatrist told me this, you're much more likely to learn to mask behaviors to be socially acceptable, because you feel like you need to fit in, whereas with straight men, this isn't for everyone, but it's a lot more common for ADHD to manifest as like aggression or disruption, because you struggle to control your emotions. That's what she was saying, wasn't it? So those were kind of, I guess, the symptoms. And more recently, if you didn't know, I, for the last couple of years, have been having like a lot of like crashes and burnout, which has been affecting our life. I wasn't sure what it was, but have been like crying a lot and feeling low. And that was, my GP told me that was probably depression, and gave sertraline for that, which is an antidepressant.
Yes.
I think it's used for a lot of different things, and basically it's continued happening over the last like 6 months since then.
Yeah, it did seem to get better for a while.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, great.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, but also that was at the time when we were moving, and we had lots of other things. So whether it was we were distracted and I don't know. But apparently it's really common to be misdiagnosed ADHD with like anxiety or depression, especially in women. Mm-hmm. And and my new therapist said the same as my therapist last year and was like, Toby, I really suggest you look at ADHD, and speak to someone about it. And again, like being impulsive, I called someone that day, was like, I need an appointment now. Spoke to a psychiatrist privately, because my sister, she's a child psychologist, she's a doctor, and she diagnoses children with autism. I spoke to her about it, and we spoke to her on the phone, and she was like, I think it's a good idea to do it, and if you can afford to do it privately, then it's worth it, because the waiting list is so long for ADHD, and obviously that's a massive luxury, but we could afford to. So I paid to go privately, spoke with a psychiatrist. Mikey was interviewed. We had to do like different assessments, and on the day, because this was a question coming up, she told me, like, you have ADHD.
Yeah. It did say on the paperwork, though, that it could take up to 6 weeks for a diagnosis.
I think it's dependent on the, like, level, like, on how you score. Basically, with the assessment, you get sent through an assessment later, which took, again, they said it could take 6 weeks. It took about a week for mine. And I ranked quite highly in a lot of the areas, like I can't remember them, but like the impulsivity, the productivity, motivation, like the distraction, that kind of stuff. So she knew, like, quite confidently, like, you have ADHD and you've been told it's depression, but actually it's burnout and you're not depressed, and which is kind of like reassuring. And a lot of people asked this as well, but I felt, and I think you did as well, I guess, kind of overwhelmed, because for a long time I think I have been like blaming myself for a lot of things, like why am I like this, why do I do this, why and even after, but I guess it gave like some kind of validation, like that's just the way I'm built, and I can learn to
not do that,
like function, like embrace the differences and make it work better for me. And like
I think it had kind of started to manifest into like you were almost like self-sabotaging things, because you'd get into like a low mood or like episode, and then when you were in that, you kind of started to want to like quit things or not do things, or like, so that's why it kind of came to the point where you were like, I'm actually going to go and get diagnosed for it, because it was starting to ruin things that you actually cared about. Whereas before you'd be like, I'm going to quit my job because I hate it, and it wasn't a job you really cared about. So that was a good way of solving it at that time. Whereas now I feel like in our life, we're really happy with everything. Like, you're really happy with your job. We're really happy that we've moved to London. We're really happy in our relationship. We don't want another dog. We don't, like, there's nothing that you can...
I do.
Well, but there's nothing you can do, like, you logically know there's nothing you can do that will make you happier now.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I think you could blame it on like, oh, it's because I'm not happy about this, so I'm going to solve that. And I think now...
I went through a period, I think, looking back now, where I'm like, I had like 10 jobs within a couple of years, changing constantly, wanting to have long hair, short hair, shaving my head, wanting to live in New York, Paris, Milan, Rome. Like, just like, so I mean, I'm still like that, but I think now it's understanding that, oh, I'm like that, not because I actually want that, but because
it's, you like looking for something
I just don't, my head is like busy and looking thinking like, this will be good, this will be good. So that's that. I'm not gonna, I know that was literally 10 minutes, but
that was not a 2 minute.
That was not a 2 minute thing. Classic.
There were so many questions about that though.
So
like,
many.
Good to just do it all.
Yeah. Also, just to quickly say, I will talk more about this, but I will be having medication, like as suggested by a psychiatrist. Like, really appreciate people's advice on it, but first I'm listening to like doctor about that, and will be like slowly weaning off of sertraline. I also am continuing therapy with like my current therapist, and I will be having an ADHD coach, and I've also done group sessions already. So I am doing different things, and I'll like report on what I think works, because I know that just like not that many people talk. Loads of people seem to talk about having ADHD. I feel like sometimes finding resources that actually work where it's just told like live of trying things isn't happening. So I'll definitely talk about that on YouTube. But that's it. That's enough for now.
Next question.
Oh, that's nice. We've screenshot
podcast.
like a few of our, just like a selection of questions, but this one, it's very nice message saying like, love what you're putting out into the world, and I missed the podcast. When's it coming back? So we just wanted to screenshot that one and choose it to say the podcast is coming back. Like everything, I decided I wanted to do a podcast. We didn't really think about it. We did it in a week, but I'm not going to say more, like too much, but it's coming back, and it's going to be like a lot less filtered, a lot more chatty and fun, and not just homeware related. So that will be coming back soon. Not next
Not
week.
instantly.
Best Christmas tips, best design tips for Christmas decorating. Do you know, I think it's really easy to get bogged down with Christmas and think everything has to look perfect. You see these things on Instagram and whatever, like, no, just like stop worrying. This is what I've told my mum this before, but unless you have the type of job where like you're hosting loads of things, your house is being filmed or photographed. You don't need to have like a picture perfect house. Like focus more, I think, on having like pieces you love that feel like Christmas and home. And I think that is the most important thing. Obviously, everyone wants to have a nice home and somewhere that feels really cozy and warm at Christmas. But you can have that with your old decorations, with bringing some new things in. I think a really good way of having something that feels really consistent for Christmas is choose like 2 colours and make them the most prominent. So whether you have decorations from like 10, 20 years ago, you can still use them, but the ones that you maybe like make prominent are like red and green or red and pink. I feel like red and pink is actually going to be really big this year, like that combination. But for example, buy some like red velvet ribbon. It could cost like £10 for loads of ribbon, and just put like red bows on your tree, some in the garlands that you have on your stairs or on your doors. And that's a really good way of having like a theme that feels like, oh, there's red ribbon like around the house. You might have red stockings that you've always had, a few red decorations, and then it feels like, oh, there's a lot of red. It feels really traditional, but you're only spending like 10 quid. And yeah, just I think enjoy it. It's up for a month, have fun. Yeah, that's what we're doing this year. We're going like trad Christmas. I love your clothes style. Any brands that you can share, please? Thank you.
I feel like this has been a bit of a journey, especially for me. I feel like a few years ago, I got to a point where I really was putting no effort into what I was wearing. And then recently, a couple of years ago, I was like, I want to look nicer and put a bit more effort in. But I would say for our kind of style, the main place we shop is Zara. It's something I try and escape.
Also, you can go on like Vinted to look for Zara things.
I'm not trying to say it's sustainable. It's not, and I'm not parading around as a sustainable person. We're not like fast fashion people. We don't buy things and throw them away after wearing them like 2 times. But obviously, you could do it more sustainably. I'm not, on just being honest. I'm not trying to parade around as a sustainable person. I'm not. So I'm just removing myself from that. I'm bad at it, and I'm trying to be better.
I think we try and do as much as much as we can. We could definitely do more, but we don't have like fast turnaround of furniture. We invest in like artwork we love. We don't throw stuff away. We always like give away or sell or donate to charity. Like we don't buy.
But I do shop in like Zara.
Yeah, but we also are quite good at checking the materials of things. Like we always hope it's like cotton or wool.
Yeah, but if I like it and it's not, I will still buy it.
Yeah, I feel like high street brands we shop at a lot are Zara, COS.
Those are the main places I would shop.
There's a couple of other. We'll have a think and link them. There's also
Massimo Dutti. We shop in quite a bit.
Like Massimo Dutti. There's also like in terms of like nicer pieces that we buy a few times a year. We would look on like Mr. Porter and Liberty, Harrods, and look for brands like Ami, Sandro. You're wearing Ami now.
I'm wearing Ami.
Paige, I really like at the moment.
Yeah. I think the thing,
there's quite a
something
few
that comes up a lot for you, well, for us, is trousers.
Yeah.
People always want to know about trousers, and I do think Zara do a lot of good trousers.
Yeah, they do.
COS do really nice trousers as well.
Yeah, if you're looking for like a bit of a looser fit,
Yeah.
not crazy expensive. Will you be renaming your profile to include Mikey? Do you know, I wanted to do that, but Mikey doesn't want us to.
I don't want to. Not yet, anyway. I don't feel like it warrants that yet. I still feel like maybe YouTube is slightly different, but I feel like for like Instagram and TikTok and stuff, it still is your account.
Yeah.
And it is Toby's home and I live in it. So the account makes sense to me.
He's just a co-star. Hi, Toby. City versus country for two lads married and together 25 years. Again, like I'm not going to tell anyone what I think is right for them, but for us, from experience, we love having like things around, things to do. Obviously, if your life looks like wanting to go to bed at 9:00 and cozy up, watch TV every evening, then why wouldn't you live in the country? If you want to have dogs, go on walks, you can get a lot more for your money most of the time. So that makes so much sense for us right now at the stage of life we're in. We don't have children yet. We have the two dogs, but they're so lazy.
They're like cats.
They're literally cats. We still take them on walks, obviously, every day, but we like to go and grab coffee, go to the gym nearby, go shopping.
When you look back at like how we've lived our lives for the last, how long have we been living together? 7 years?
Yeah, since we were 21.
We've always, like every weekend, we're like, let's go into Bath, let's go into Bristol, let's go shopping here, let's go shopping there, let's do that. Like we always go in, when we used to live in the country, we always just went into the city, so it just made sense.
Yeah.
If you're the type of people who love doing country stuff, then stay in the country.
Choose what works for you.
Look at what you're drawn to doing day to day rather than the house you want to live in.
For us, I think we will always choose a leafy area of a city going forward if we can. I think that's a good way to put it. Like a leafy, nice area of a city where there's like parks, some quiet, but you can access everything walking. I don't like driving.
Accessibility.
Do you think being a content creator and the constant validation it brings impacts your well-being? I think yes and no. I think a lot of the types of people who get into content creation and sharing their lives are types of people who seek validation anyway. So I think before I started creating content, I was already measuring validation by other measures, like, have I got a promotion? Does this person like me? Like, how many friends do I have? How many people turn up to this party? Like a lot of other measures, like how does my body compare to theirs? I think there were so many measures of validation. I think it's just different.
That is how you're wired. You're constantly seeking to like measure your worth, which is part of how your brain's wired, I think. Yeah,
and I think that's really common for just people who share their lives online. I think, like obviously you want people to like you and to validate you. So yeah, I think the two go hand in hand rather than it being
but it does impact your well-being, but other things would anyway.
It does, but it always has. Like I've always, since as long as I can remember, like I have had issues with like my self-worth and validation. So do you think it impacts your well-being? Because people comment on you and how you look or how you...
Yeah, no more than it would normally. Yeah, like I don't think I get a thrill from like... Well, I do in terms of it because it's doing well, but like if a video does well, I'll be like, oh, that did well. Yeah. But then I'm not like, yes, I'm validated.
Do you know something I heard? I was listening to a Q&A from Fab and Elle, who are like YouTubers that sometimes we put on in the mornings, and someone asked them, how do you deal with online hate? Which I guess is kind of similar, because if you're getting hate, you're not being validated. And they said that they like just completely block straight away, delete, comment and block any hate. And the reason they do it is because if they had a job that was like working in a bar, if you say they were behind the bar, if someone came in and started hurling abuse at them or something unwarranted and they didn't know them, they didn't whatever, they would be barred. And it's exactly the same thing. Like, you can just bar people from your account and be like, nope, I don't need to see you, blocked.
Yeah.
You don't know me and you're not worthy of it. If it's something constructive, like, oh, you said this, I'm not sure that's good. Well, that's completely different. I'm like, if something's put out kindly, like, the way it's phrased is important. But someone just saying, like, hate this, don't like this, you look weird, like, no time for it.
Agreed.
I know it's kind of different, but... Hey, Toby, have you ever had therapy? Yes. How did you find the right therapist for you? I've actually been using BetterHelp. Not an ad. I've never worked with BetterHelp. I know a lot of people do. But I found it way more flexible for me to be able to book therapy sessions whenever I want. There's group therapy on there, and you can do like multiple a week. So even though it's not cheap, it's a couple of £100 a month. I get a session every week with my therapist, and if you don't vibe with your therapist, you can like anonymously basically change.
It had a really good matching process as well. I thought, like, if you're trying to find someone just Googling or something, you can't like hit all the criteria that you want, whereas on BetterHelp it was quite good because you could pick the like speciality you want them to focus in, what your issues are that you want to talk about, if you want like a male or female, like you can put all of these things, and then they match you with someone, and it's not like an instant match. It's not like, oh, here you go, our computer just picked someone. It took a few days, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel like they actually do try and match you to someone who's going to suit you best, whereas like when you did it before, your therapist was good, but you kind of are just like hoping that you've picked the right person.
Also, I think before I had a straight woman, which is fine. But I think I found it so much more useful having like a gay young man who has like a similar shared experience and I feel like he can sympathize a bit more with some of the experiences growing up that I've had. Not that they're bad, but different.
Just like there is a gay experience in the same way there is a straight experience.
Yeah. And I found that like so useful. Yeah. What's the best and worst thing about city living that you weren't expecting? Shall I do one of us do best, one do worst? Worst thing for me, I think, is I obviously, again, because of like I get quite impulsive and my mood changes, I feel a lot of pressure to have to do everything and go to everything. So because we're here now, and that was a big part of moving here, we have like access. I think I used to find it a lot easier to excuse myself from certain social events, or whereas now, because we live here, like I feel like we don't have much of an excuse. So if you're not in the mood, you kind of have to be like, I don't know. So that's quite a bad one, but a good one.
Yeah, that's actually also probably my best though, is that it's everything's so easy to do. So if you feel like you want to do something, you normally can do it within like 24 hours. And I feel like I've now developed quite a impatient quality, probably from being with you for like 10 years. If I want to do something, I kind of want to do it now. And living in London makes that so easy. So that is, I do love that. I'd find it really hard now not to have stuff on my doorstep. Right,
we're going to have to quick fire through these because how long is it? Skin, hair care products you're using ATM. Again, quick fire. We'll actually just link things down below. But I think we found skin and hair care that works for us. And we had questions about tan as well. We're not tanned at the moment, but we use Tan Luxe drops for our face. Just you put in your moisturizer. We do it once a week maybe. And then occasionally you do Bondi Sands for the body, so I'll leave it linked. What interiors trend of the past can you see having a re-emergence? I mean, it's already here, but like 70s. I feel like it's massive, like orange woods, warm colours, like mixed materials, even like sunken floors with sofas. And
like shag carpets.
All of that stuff I think is back. Self-care habits that we practice on a daily basis to find yourself back at your normal. I think that's a good question, actually. And we do, again, I struggle with consistency, but things I think that help and work for me is getting up and showering with not like delaying getting ready. I think it's really easy to be like, oh, I'm just going to put my pajamas on and slowly, I think getting up, showering and having a drink, coffee, something. I count that as self-care. Having a bath
Yes.
It's kind of same thing, having a bath after work to like cleanse and unwind and relax, if that works for you. Things like lighting a candle, we always have a candle on.
Yeah.
And also even like doing skincare using LED face mask, I think is a good way for us.
I think just like not scheduling, but allowing yourself to have downtime if you are feeling overwhelmed. I think that's something that you struggle with a lot, of like, if you're feeling stressed, to let yourself just like have a bit of a breather.
Yeah, I think so.
I always find putting an episode of Housewives on and watching that just like chills us, makes us have a bit of a laugh, kind of takes mind off of whatever it is that's stressing you out. I love that.
Wealthy middle-aged women fighting is our goal.
Reality TV basically is our jam.
Ideal dinner party guests, famous or not.
Just pick one.
One each. 3, 2, 1.
Cheryl.
Kylie Jenner. Okay. Will we see any highlights or things you found from your recent trip to LA? Yes, we've got a vlog already edited, so let us know if you want to see it and we can put it out next week. You've had so many changes over the last year. Is there anything you would change? Maybe there is one thing. But I don't know if I want to talk about it online. Okay.
Keep that one to us.
Do you think you'll have kids? 3, 2, 1. Yes, we're pregnant. Jokes.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we've gone back and forwards on this a lot, and we've kind of come to a place where we have decided we definitely want to have children.
But not anytime soon.
Not soon, not in the next year. And we will, if we're still YouTubing and vlogging, then we will like keep you guys in the loop, but we would like to adopt, I think.
Yes.
So that's that. Do you have close relationships with your parents and family? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, like, I speak to my parents. My mum I speak to every couple of days.
Yeah.
Used to be a bit more. My sister I speak to a lot every week.
Every couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't speak to my family as much as Toby does. I always found it weird how much Toby spoke to his family. Me and my family don't speak. Like we have like a group WhatsApp that we're kind of like always talking on, but me and my mum probably speak to each other on the phone once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
We're done.
I mean, that was still really long. So we won't ramble
it
on
won't be
for
as
the
long
end.
as it has been.
We'll cut some bits out. Yeah, we thought it was good to kind of go through and answer some questions to get back into it. But we are just going to carry on vlogging, I think, normally.
Yeah. If you could actually let us know what you want to see from us, I think that's something we go through a lot of, like, do people care about this or this? So like, it'd just be really interesting to see.
I think
what you would want to
going through those was good, because we always thought people only want to see like interiors and home stuff, but our life, I guess, has become a lot more than that. So
yeah, the questions weren't really about home.
No.
Interesting. So yeah, if you could let us know, that'd be great.
Yeah, but thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. And we will see you actually very soon, because we're now going to be vlogging again.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.